Hi guys, it's Kat and we're here to talk about yet another topic that is on my mind. So, I'm going to start this conversation out by saying it's almost 2 in the morning and I just got back from the club and I'm definitely drunk. But the thing about me being drunk means that I'm usually like way more straightforward about how I feel about things. And I just honestly think that's probably better for this particular conversation. So, this was a video I wanted to make before I went out. But I wanted to talk about the whole no ethical consumption under capitalism stuff because a lot of you guys, let's just be frank, don't fucking get it. So, I uploaded it. So, for context, I uploaded a video about the Hogwarts Legacy thing. And if you missed that video, the summary is basically that I'm not going to say you playing this game inherently makes you a terrible transphobe, right? I am 100% not going to say that because I think that's honestly a really stupid idea, right? Um, I don't think playing a video game that makes you the worst transphobe ever means that you hate all trans people and want them to die or whatever. But my general point that I made in that video is that at this point in the timeline, right, we've observed J.K. Rowling being a transphobe, right? You can't really deny it unless you are intentionally trying not to see it, right? Um, and if you're a person who claims to be supportive of transgender people, I think it should be pretty obvious to you that she's transphobic, or at the bare minimum, that the things she's saying are hurtful to your transgender friends. And so the argument that I basically made was that I am not surprised people want to play this game because historically, as a trans person who has spoken very openly about being trans and about all of the issues that come with it, I inherently know personally that people don't give a fuck about it, right? People don't give a fuck about trans people, right? And knowing what you know and choosing to still play this game, for me at least, is a really clear communication that you don't um, have the reaction, I guess, that I do to transphobia, which is that, yeah, it's dangerous to me and it might fucking kill me. So, therefore, it's really easy for me not to play a wizard game. It's really easy for me not to go out of my way to support people who are engaging in transphobia, right? Um, like it's very easy for me, but apparently some of you fucking people are so obsessed with Harry Potter that you need to jump through so many loops to basically justify playing the Harry Potter. Some of you people are like, oh, I may have purchased a $70 game, but I also gave $70 to the Trevor Project. I also gave $70 to a transgender charity. Here's a better idea. Why don't you just give your money to a trans charity and then not buy your stupid fucking wizard game? I mean, I don't know. To me, it's all very quite easy, but I get that for a lot of allies in quotations, the ally industrial complex. Oh my fucking god, you need to be coddled in this conversation, right? You want me to say, oh, it's okay that you're supporting this game. It's okay that you're buying this game. It's okay that you're giving money to a company that's, going to continue to make J.K. Rowling and her creations more relevant in, you know, society, and thus she's going to take that money and directly fund. Like, to me, I'm just gonna be fucking honest with you guys. To me, this conversation is fucking annoying, and this is why I'm getting out of having these conversations because it's so clear. To me, it's a really clear cut thing. Like I have. Ooh, it's right here. It's right here. Morrissey, the Smiths albums, right? Morrissey is a fucking racist, right? Morrissey is a terrible fucking person, right? But I still own a Smiths album because I like the Smiths and bought it when I was into the Smiths and didn't know that Morrissey was a racist, right? Um, if I had that knowledge, I would not have purchased the Morrissey album, right? If I knew that Morrissey was a racist, I'd be like, you know what? I don't need to buy this actually. There are black musicians, there are black creators whose music I would rather own, right? Um, that's the way that I think, right? But what's happened in this situation is J.K. Rowling's been transphobic outwardly. You see that she's been transphobic outwardly. And you said, oh, but I really want to play, ooh, woo, I really want to play the wizard game. It's a totally different scenario, but let's talk about the no ethical consumption under capitalism. Now, here's what's become incredibly clear to me, and I'm just gonna be very fucking blunt with you guys at this point. A lot of what you people on the internet consider to be leftist content is really just liberal content, right? It's really just liberal comfort content that's created so that you feel really fucking comfortable. You know, maybe you want to smoke a little bit of weed or whatever. Maybe you want to, like, you know, be a little bit more edgy than your conservative parents, but ultimately you don't really believe in bucking the status quo. Ultimately, you don't really believe in deconstructing the system and replacing it with something ethical and better. You look at the system and say, yeah, I get that some people are hurt by this, but I'm gonna do it anyway, right? And when it comes to the conversation about there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, what that really means is that we are all forced to participate in this system. There was some idiot in the comment section of my video being like, oh, well, you could hunt your own food and make your own clothes. Why don't you do that? Because obviously there is a huge issue with exploitation when it comes to the meat industry, exploitation when it comes to the clothing industry. And the thing that annoyed me about this is that I'm actually a person who used to sew all of their clothes, right? That's not the case anymore right now. I'm trying to get back into that, honestly. We're trying to start a whole new era of that right now. But I used to, for years, almost a decade, I made all of my clothes, right? I sewed from my underwear to the outerwear. I made all of my clothes. And you know what? That took a lot of fucking time, right? That took a lot of fucking resources, right? And even when we talk about that, I wasn't, looking into where the fabric came from or, whether or not there was ethics involved in the creation of it. I was buying the fabric that was available to me, which probably on the other end of it had exploitation. What I need for you guys to get is that see, I'm laughing about it because it's so fucking stupid, right? People say there's no ethical consumption under capitalism in this context, right? To excuse their purchase of this game, right? But really what it means is that even in the situations where you think you're doing something ethical because it's functioning under capitalism, on the other end of that, there's probably still someone being exploited, right? On the other end of that, there's probably still someone being exploited, right? What people like the whole, well, you could make your own clothes and kill animals to make your food and whatever. The reason why that's so fucking annoying to me is, why can't we do that? Let's fucking talk about it. Let's talk about it. Why don't most people kill their own food and make their own clothes? Why? Because they live in a fucking system that requires that they work to survive, right? Landlords buy properties and hoard housing so that you have to work day in and day out to be able to fucking afford living in a home that's available and open that they're hoarding, right? That is what most fucking people have to do. They have to go to work. They have to spend their time in an office doing some bullshit they don't give a fuck about, because that is how they survive. That is how they make it in this country. That is how they have a safe place to fucking sleep every night. Making your own food requires a lot of fucking work. Well, not making your own food. Killing your own food, harvesting your own food requires a lot of work and time. Do you know how long it takes me to make a single pair of panties? Guess. I'll give you some time. Guess how long it takes for me to make a single pair of panties. Bare minimum, probably 2 to 3 hours. Probably 2 to 3 hours. It's a lot of fucking work. And that's a basic wardrobe piece, right? Basic, right? Something that came up in this, this is just something that came up in the thoughts I had about this. It's not necessarily relevant to the exact conversation, but when I was trying to apply for work, I remember going to the Los Angeles Gay and Lesbian Center, and they set me up with this organization that provided clothes to houseless women and to trans people to basically make themselves more presentable for an interview, right? In order to get a job in this country, you gotta dress up, you gotta speak a certain way, and you gotta be able to make certain arguments when you're trying to beg this person for access to capital that you can then use to fucking survive, right? People who need that are not probably going to spend the time finding the fabric that they have to make sure is ethical so that they can go and then make the clothes that they can wear to the interview to get the job, right? And once they get the job, they're probably going to work too fucking long, too fucking frequently for them to actually be able to put time aside to make the same outfit that they would need in order to get the job, right? And so what do more often than not? They go and they purchase clothes from what is generally a fast fashion company where for sure there is exploitation connected to it, right? That is a really basic part of the way that we have to do things in this country in order to survive, right? What you idiots are comparing that to is not buying a fucking video game. That's why I think you people are so fucking unserious, right? You fucking people think that you're forced to buy a fucking wizard-ass video game. Like, you be serious, okay? Be serious. You fucking people think that buying a fucking video game is the same as surviving. There's no ethical here's what I want for people to do. I want for you to say that you prefer the wizard game over your support of trans people. I'm going to reiterate, I don't think playing the game makes you a terrible fucking transphobe. I don't think playing the game makes you the worst person in the world who hates all transgender people, who deserves to be canceled, because a lot of you guys are so fucking obsessed with that, right? I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that the pushback is very telling, right? You've got trans people who are taking an assessment of what is happening right now and saying, you know what, shit's really bad for trans people, right? And this is another aspect of the conversation. Some of you people know more about Hogwarts legacy than you do about all the legislation being passed in this country that's operating against transgender people being able to exist in public life. Some of you fucking people are so distracted and so invested in these fucking video games, these stupid fucking video games, then you are actually invested in all of the scary shit that we are responding to, right? You think that us saying, hey, maybe don't play this game is bullying, while you're completely ignoring the fact that there are fucking people working day and night to make it impossible for a transgender person to have a job, to function in society, to exist in public space, to survive, to pay for things the way that you fucking do. That's what makes me and here's the thing too, and this is why I'm so annoyed with these conversations and I don't want to have it. What was one of the first things J.K. Rowling rallied behind, right? Maya Forstater, who was basically celebrated by transphobes for what? Not respecting a transgender woman who she worked with, right? For, you know, not accepting that she was going to work with a person who is transgender, right? I need you people to really fucking think about this. I need you people to get this, right? All of us are participating in this system, regardless of how we feel about it. It is the way things were before we were all here. Unless you're a fucking vampire, which in case we should talk. But we're all born into this fucking system that hurts and harms us, but we've normalized, right? Capitalism is inherently harmful to us, which is why many people, self-included, rally against it, right? But because we have to participate in it, there are certain conversations that are had about accepting people who you probably wouldn't accept otherwise, right? So, for example, maybe a transgender person shouldn't be terrorized in their place of work. Maybe a transgender person shouldn't have to every single day deal with the fact that you overtly reject them because they're transgender. Maybe part of participating in this workspace, part of participating in this society should just be that in the rare times where you have to, because you also have to go to work, interact with a transgender person, just call them the name they want to be called by. People take that and they twist these crazy narratives about, oh, you know, the fucking transgenders are forcing us to agree with their gender. They're forcing us to agree. When really what it comes down to, bare minimum, without anything attached to it, is there's a person in front of you who would like for you to speak to them this way. Just do it so that we don't have issues, right? And you people transform that into the trans agenda. And what, of course, is the trans agenda? It's not, you know, trying to groom your kids or, you know, trying to ruin your life because you misgendered someone once. It's survival. And the reason this fucking annoys me so much is what you people don't get is that people ramp up this shit. They blow it up into something that is not actually reflective of how most trans people feel, so that you are so annoyed by the very fact that a transgender person wants to be heard at all. So every single time a trans person says, you know, this is hurting me, this is harming me, you are already being encouraged to reject that. So when actual violence does happen to us, when actual violence does indeed come to us on the basis of us being transgender, you are already primed for the indifference. You are already primed to not give a fuck, right? The reason I'm talking about this is because situations like this are easy to dismiss. It is so easy for you to dismiss, oh, the Aretha Franklin song, oh, the Harry Potter shit, right? The Aretha Franklin shit is something that sticks in my head because it was a fake story created by a conservative. And several people took it and ran with it and started to bitch and fucking moan about those transgenders who are asking for too much. It was a fake story. No one actually felt that way. But a lot of you decided to take that moment as your time to air your grievances against transgender people, right? You took that as the opportunity to say, oh, you know, these fucking trannies are just spending so much time bitching and moaning about everything. They're so sensitive. They're so fucking sensitive, right? And what's crazy to me about this is it's so, like, from where I'm sitting, okay, at least from where I'm sitting, it's so blatant, it's so clear, it is so ABC 1 2 3 follow, you know, it's so clear. But maybe it's clear to me because I'm trans, right? Maybe, I mean, part of me doesn't want to buy into the idea that cis people just don't get it, or oh my god, they're just undereducated or whatever, because I don't actually think that's true. I think in reality, most of you do get it. Most of you do understand it. You just don't care. Or you think that transgender people being oppressed is the natural order of society. It's fine that cis people get to control and limit our access to public life because, after all, transgender people are so mentally unstable, so unable to actually voice their own feelings about things that they must be controlled by cis people. It is simply the order of things. It's crazy to me because here's the thing, simple shit like this should be the cutoff point. You don't need to spend $70 on the fucking game, right? There's a difference between me buying, actually, I didn't buy this, my ex-boyfriend bought this for me, but there's a difference between me buying a Smiths album knowing that the transphobia, or the racism rather, exists, right? And me buying it without understanding that that's the case and saying, well, I have this now, I'm going to enjoy it, right? Which I actually haven't played this in a really long time. But do you get what I'm saying? There's a difference, right? There is a difference. It's true that there is no ethical consumption under capitalism, but that's not an excuse, right? That's not an excuse, right? When I hear that people are shitty, it is so easy for me not to buy the thing. So easy. And it's not like food. It's not like clothes. It's not like most of the shit that we purchase in order to survive. At all. But you idiots, because you want to play the game, make it about that. Oh, there's no ethical consumption or capitalism. You're fucking stupid. I'm just going to say it. You're fucking stupid. You're an idiot. You're a fucking idiot. Because it's not the same thing. I don't need a Smiths album to survive. I do need clothes to survive. And because none of us are able to have the free time because of capitalism to make our own clothes and to hunt our own food, which, by the way, is a lot more complicated than you fucking people like to make it. Because none of us actually have that time, because we're all trying to survive in this system, we play into capitalism. Oh, you got your iPhone. Oh, your iPhone. Don't you know about your iPhone? Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. Okay? Like, everything you buy, let's just make this clear, probably has, on the other end of it, some degree of exploitation. It's built into the structure of capitalism. Everyone who argues against that is a fucking idiot. How do people lower their prices? Right? Why are so many of the things in our home owned, or not owned, created outside of the United States, right? Because if they made it in the US, they would have to pay people, right? They would have to actually give people insurance, right? They would actually have to, like, maybe kowtow to unions and shit, right? But out in other countries where there are less protections and people are eager to pull themselves out of poverty that usually exists, again, because of capitalism, they go there, right? It's cheaper. That's the way that you maintain competitive pricing, right? By lowering the price so fucking low, because you pay people so fucking cheaply. Because the price of making these goods is now so low that you can justify the low price. You can undercut your competitor. To me, this is real basic ABC 1, 2, 3 shit, but some of y'all fucking leftists, some of y'all fucking leftists are like, oh my god, but I want to play the fucking wizard game. And I will fucking reiterate that I don't think it makes you the worst transphobe that has ever existed because you want to play the fucking wizard game. The point that I made in my previous video is that the transphobia, however, is not the turnoff to you. It doesn't turn you off that she's been transphobic. It doesn't turn you off that she's actively funding organizations that are moving to make it so that transgender people can't exist in public life, right? Like, It's annoying and it's stupid, and this is why I'm trying not to make this kind of content anymore, because I already know what it is. I already know what it is. And I'm tired of trying to explain it to people because I know that people don't care. You guys don't give a fuck. Genuinely, you truly don't care. You genuinely do not care. You want what you want and you want it now. The fact that, someone called me a Nazi in my last video, right? Standing up for trans people is Nazism. And of course, you would assume that someone who says that is engaged enough in the current state of things to see fascism very clearly. You would think someone who hates fascism would be aware of what's happening right now, right? Because there's no way you study fascism without understanding that one of the first steps to enabling genocide against a group of people is dehumanization. There's no way for you to study that and not get that. And it starts with small shit like this. It starts, these fucking trannies don't want me to play the Harry Potter game. They just hate real women, right? These fucking trannies are trying to convert our children. They're trying to force themselves on our children. It starts with stuff like this. This is how it starts. But most of you only understand Nazism as an icon. You only understand Nazism as iconography for evil. You don't understand that before they gassed the Jews, they spent a lot of time, slowly but surely, blaming every fucking issue on them. And it's funny because if you've watched my content over the years, you've heard me kind of do I've repeated this thing for a bit because it took me a while to get it, where I go on the internet and there's this big issue, right? Oh my God, trans people are so offended by this specific thing. Insert issue of the week here. But then I think, well, that's not offensive to me. It's not offensive to most people I know who are trans. I've not heard any uproar about this. But then you see, right? You see that everyone is pretending that everyone is so angry about this. I have not had a single conversation with a real living trans person about Hogwarts Legacy. It's just not something that has come up yet. And I know a fair amount of trans people in the city. It's, but you go on the internet and leftists, right, are complaining about, oh my God, all these people want to fucking cancel me because I really want to play this game. And oh my God, you're a liberal. Let's just fucking go there, first of all. You're a fucking liberal, okay? Let's just say it. It is what it is. I'm not even trying to insult you. I'm saying that because you're literally clinging to the status quo and defending it, and then saying that the people who want to stand up for trans people are bullies. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. And that it's I'm not going to go off on that tangent, but I'm so tired of you people thinking that like your most basic person who smokes weed and doesn't like the government or whatever, like, is a leftist. We're not going to talk about that here. But it is so true that most of the things we consume are indeed connected to unethical things. That's just true. But no one's forcing you to buy the stupid fucking wizard game. You don't need it to survive. You don't need it to sustain yourself. Stop pretending that you do. Stop conflating it with things that you do need, right? Like someone said, oh, you can hunt your food. Where am I gonna hunt? I live in LA. Why do I live in LA? Because this is where business is. Why do most people live in the city? Because this is where money is, right? What is not in the city because of the way that it's been constructed in order to be for business? Animals that we can all readily kill, right? Because capitalism is what it is, because it is what it is, us as individuals can only control our ethical consumption but so much. I used to hand sew all of my clothes. That was a lot of work. And I got to a certain point where I was like, I need to work. Let's just be fucking frank. I can't afford financially to spend days of my time making clothes that fit me. I can't. I can't. So, what do? I did what a lot of other people have done, do regularly. I went and purchased clothes from a store. Clothes that for sure have unethical shit connected to it on the other side, right? For sure, right? But those are my options, right? That's what there's no ethical consumption under capitalism means, right? Either I don't work and sew clothes all day, or I spend some money on some clothes that for sure were probably made unethically that I now can use in order to clothe myself to survive. To me, that is really clear and very basic stuff. But some of you fucking leftists don't get it. And that's so fascinating to me, because I would appreciate you so much more if you just said, I want to play the game. You know, I really, really want to play the game. I like it. I like Wizards. I like J.K. Rowling. Yeah, maybe she says some shit or whatever. But like, I want to play the game. Because in most other contexts, right, not supporting some, like, again, to me, very blatant, very clear. At this point, J.K. Rowling is a transphobe, is supported by transphobes, is seen as a primary icon of, you know, people who are moving against transgender people's ability to exist. Like, it's all very clear and obvious. And yeah, you can say, oh, she's not making money from the game, but that's not the point, you fucking idiots. That's not the point. The point is, it's so easy not to continue to support an intellectual property that ultimately does indeed enrich J.K. Rowling, especially after, as I said in my previous video, she's made it incredibly clear that the transphobia has not harmed her business, right? It is so easy to not do that, but some of you fucking people act like people are just forcing you to play the game. Forcing you. You have no other option. You are just totally and completely and utterly incapable of doing anything other than playing the wizard game. Y'all are so fucking unserious. Just say you want to play the game. And there's no, I'm not a person who's going to think you're a terrible transphobe. I'm not, right? But I will understand you as a person who is not fully aligned. And I, you know, maybe I'm unique in this way, but I don't need everyone I talk to be completely in line with me. I anticipate the vast majority of people I interact with to not be willing to piss on me if I were on fire, right? But of course, why do I feel that way? Because society has told me from day one that my life is not worth much, right? And what I feel like I'm doing by standing up for myself is reiterating that my life is worth it, right? And what I continuously hear when people act like these little moments, these small moments of, hey, you know, it's easy for you not to play the game, maybe don't play the game. When those are twisted into, oh, you're a fucking, you know, oh, you're a bully, it's reiterating that what I already feel from society, right? It's reiterating that I'm not worth defending myself, right? That's what I'm hearing. What I'm annoyed with is that some of you people want to do this weird thing where you support the transphobia but want to be celebrated as an ally. Spoiler alert. Even the fucking... Some of y'all are not ready for this conversation. By virtue of these companies existing under capitalism, even the charities that you are donating to probably involve exploitation. Probably. They probably do to some degree. They probably do indeed require some degree of exploitation in order for them to thrive. You know, because that's the nature of things. What I don't resonate with is not buying a game is super easy. Super easy. But it's so hard for you to do. And it's hard for you to do because again, the transphobia is not a turnoff to you. Y'all don't get it. Like there are so many things I don't even consider purchasing because I know the person connected to it is probably a bad person, right? Like, well, I know fact that they're a bad person, not probably. It's so easy to just not do that. But for some of you people, it's like, oh my God, it is the hardest fucking thing in the world. You just really want to play the wizard game, and that's, again, fine. But do not be shocked when people are, again, observing you, knowingly understanding the issue, and saying, but I want to play it anyway. Like, in most contexts that would be like let's simplify it. Let's make it more simple for people to, let's say you're, I mean, this is a, I guess, an extreme example, but this is kind of how I feel about it because I've sort of been in some of these situations. Say you have a friend who sexually assaulted your other friend, but you're a friend, right, with this person. This is your friend, and you choose, after having that knowledge, to continue a relationship with that person, right? You continue to befriend that person, right? Regardless of the fact that your other friend, the person you claim to care about, said this person sexually assaulted me, right? You have that knowledge, and you decide that because of your own connection to it, because of your own relation to it, you're going to cling to your friend who you at the bare minimum understand is being accused of raping your other friend, of assaulting your other friend. Right? Now, you may have all of these valid reasons for keeping that friend. You've grown up together, they were there for you through a hard time or whatever, right? All of that's valid, of course. But now you've got another friend who was harmed by this person. And instead of respecting that and maybe not overtly showing your support of this friend, you decide to hang out with them because of your own personal relationship with them. And then on top of that, you want to turn around and say to your friend who was assaulted by this person, you're a bully for telling me who I can't talk to. Look, I'm saying this because I've actually seen literally this scenario happen. To think that the person who was harmed by your friend is not correct for saying that you are no longer a person they can trust is just so incredibly, out of touch, shitty, terrible, missing the point, right? Here's the harsh reality of this. I know, again, as I said in the previous video, people don't care. I know that we're going to have to go through a lot of violence before people start to care. And even then, people will still be like, maybe they deserved it. After, and they'll feel that way because over the years, you've heard right-wingers take a small thing, turn it into a large thing, and then every time, again, a trans person stands up for themselves or defends themselves, your baseline reaction is, oh, God, they're so fucking annoying. So now it becomes convenient to you that transgender people no longer exist in society and aren't a thing that you have to even consider anymore. That's the point of this shit. That's the reason behind all of this shit. And, again, I'm really trying to get out of talking about this because it's exhausting to me, but that's just the basics of genocide, you guys. That's just ABC 1, 2, 3. This is how you genocide thee, right? But people struggle with it because they love Harry Potter. They love these little things, right? Again, I'm positive that there are people who know more about Harry Potter legacy than they do any of the legislation trying to be passed right now in this country. Because the reason why I'm so upset is that, right? The reason why I have the reaction that I do is that I'm watching people across this country spread transphobic legislation and it get passed. That's the thing that gets me. Some of you people say, oh, I support transgender people, but you aren't aware enough about what's happening in the country to get that, like, we're not just worried about nothing. There are actual people right now who are in situations where they don't have access to care anymore because some transphobe decided that they don't deserve it. And you think, oh, we're just, you conflate every time a trans person, speaks up for themselves with, oh, this annoying thing that they're, that they're talking about. So that when real serious shit happens, you don't care. It's par for the course for you. I don't want to keep talking about this because I already know where we're going with this. I already know that things are going to have to get really, really bad before they get better. What's crazy to me is not buying the Harry Potter game is like the easiest way you can show support to trans people. It's actually a lot harder for you to go and counteract this legislation. It's a lot harder. It's so easy to not spend $70 on a wizard game, but people are willing to fight to their death for it. And they'll call me a woke scold, right, for saying, hey, maybe don't buy that, right? I'm a woke scold for saying don't maybe participate in that. Like I've said in every video where I've talked about this, I really hope I'm wrong. I really, really hope I'm wrong. But the reactions I've seen to this stuff on a micro level, like this Harry Potter shit, are really not reinforcing the idea that I am. That's what I gotta say. I gotta go to bed. I'm so glad I'm not actively on Twitter and I'm not like hyper focusing on this shit because I would probably be significantly more frustrated by it. And I'm frustrated enough. All right, on that note, I'm going to go. Talk to you guys later. Bye.